Some are worthy, some will never be worthy. I know the difference.
Under the cover of night, Azula and her team slip through the shadows, heading to a hidden grain warehouse in the Fire Nation. The darkness envelopes everything, but two guards, illuminated by lanterns, remain vigilant, unaware of the stealthy advance of the intruders. In a moment of tense calm, Azula lights a flame, only to stop dead when she hears a familiar voice in the distance. It's Ty Lee bringing cups of tea to his colleagues. Azula creates a flame, exploding the entire barn and quickly fleeing. But from the forest 4 guards block the way, surrounding the fugitives. It was all a trap planned by the Kyoshi warrior who left only empty boxes in the building, since it is not the first time that the fire warriors attack. Ty Lee blocks the chi of one of the members, trapping her on the floor while the rest manage to escape thanks to a wall of fire that Azula uses, leaving behind one of his team. Later, entering the forest, Azula's team reproaches their leader for leaving a member of their team behind. They are upset because they joined the Fire Warriors to help the oppressed people of the Fire Nation, but instead they are acting like criminals to sabotage Zuko. Azula stands up and says that she rescued each of them, and gave them a purpose in their lives, so they owe everything to her, and that now, their only goal is to cause chaos in Zuko's reign, ending the conversation. Frustrated Zirin says,
"She will never let us go."
And one of her colleagues responds,
"It's worse than that. She doesn't even care what happens to us. We have to save Chiyu, she would do the same for us."
The next day Azula wakes up, combs her hair, and when she leaves her tent she finds that she is completely alone, getting angry because they abandoned her, treating them as traitors and mentioning that she gave them the opportunity to change the future of the Fire Nation, making Zuko worthy of the throne, but being so ungrateful will make them pay for what they did. She repeats this phrase over and over again, walking through the forest all day, but at dusk, and in the middle of a great storm, she has no choice but to seek shelter. She sees a light in the distance, and as she approaches she finds a temple of the fire sages on a hill.
"You are not a fire sage,"
mentions, while an old woman cooks.
"Ah, a traveler, welcome.
"What is this place?"
This place is a haven for weary travelers."
"Then why is it in the middle of a forest?"
The old woman responds that those who need to find this place have no problem finding it, but that apparently she has problems and needs help. Azula replies that Zirin and the rest of the group are in trouble. She just needs a meal and a bed for the night. The old woman offers that she stay the night and that tomorrow she continues her journey.
"Do you expect me to sleep on the floor like a dog? What about that room?"
Before she can answer anything, Azula says,
"This place is for travelers, right? But you keep the best room for yourself? How dare you be so selfish?"
getting her room sedated to make her feel comfortable. That night, Azula sleeps repeating that she will make them pay for what they did, but the door opens.
Azula.
They are Lee and Lo, and they are in their house on Ember Island.
Come quickly.
Not understanding anything, they take her hand and tell her everyone who loves you is waiting for you. Ozai receives her with
Azula, my favorite girl.
Iroh, Zuko, Ursa, and the boy my liked is there. Everyone praises her for her feats, and Ursa approaches, hugs her and tells her that she is very proud of her.
Oh, this isn't real, you know.
Mai and Ty Lee are on the beach under an umbrella.
As if your mom would be proud of you.
She gets angry telling them to shut up, but Mai tells her,
"Yeah, didn't you tell us that she thought you were a monster? Pretty suspicious. Come on, Azula, we know the real you. None of this is really happening."
At that moment she wakes up. The frightened old woman enters her room, taking her away from her, saying that she must leave, and that if her dream does not help her, she must leave. When she leaves it, it is still night, and the forest is covered in fog. She walks away from her but returns to the same temple, suspecting that the old woman is trying to keep her there. She goes in to confront her, but she is on the floor scared and mentioning that everything is wrong. The princess suspects that she is a trap held by her enemies and that she needs to fight her way out. Looking for the culprit of all this, she enters a room where she finds a turtle duck, with its shell burned, and says,
Azula, what did you do? You are a firebender.
Ozai is happy. She picks her up and says,
She is a prodigy. She can do firebending at a very young age. This is wonderful. Tell your daughter how amazing she is.
The princess waits for a response from her mother, but she only gives her a kiss on the forehead and says,
You are your father's daughter Azula.
The image splits as if it were a mirror, with one half of the Ursa surprised and scared and the other telling him,
Oh Azula, I'm proud of you.
How special you are. A girl who can do firebending at your age.
Her parents mention that she is the most powerful firebender the Fire Nation has ever seen, and that she will have everything she wants. But Azula reacts.
Wait. This is not what happened. My mother was not happy. She was afraid of me.
I'm just trying to give you what you want. Isn't it your greatest wish to be loved and hugged by your family? Why don't you accept what I offer you?
And her eyes turn red. You want me to accept lies and manipulations, says Azula, and the old woman responds, if this helps you find peace, why not? You are not a nun, and she shoots a flare, but the nun dodges it by stretching her limbs and holding on to a beam on the ceiling. Azula thinks this is the work of the Avatar, and mentions that she doesn't want anything from her family. They are all traitors except her father. At that moment Ty Lee enters and says that he got separated from his sisters while looking for the fire warriors and found the temple. They both start fighting, and during the fight he asks her why she joined the Kyoshi warriors. They were a real team. They had a good time until she ruined everything because of Zuzu's stupidity.
She broke our team for a stupid boy who didn't even want her,
says the princess, defeating Ty Lee, leaving her unconscious.
Will you kill her?
The old woman asks.
And why would she do that? And why are you interested in knowing what I want?
Because I want to know what you want, my daughter.
Ursa answers, standing in front of her. This is not real. You are not real, he says. And Ursa responds,
What is real in this place is always changing, Azula. For now I am real.
And hugs her.
You ruined me. You chose Zuko over me. You saved him by poisoning Grandpa Azulin, and you left. You abandoned me. You weren't there to protect me from Dad, so I became what he wanted, the deadly firearm he controlled. I never had a choice. If you had just let Daddy kill Zuko, you could have stayed with me. You would have protected me from him, and I wouldn't be this.
And who are you, Azula?
Alone, betrayed over and over again, by my brother, by my uncle, my friends, my acolytes. They should have been faithful to me until the end, but they weren't, and this is all your fault.
So what you want most in the world is for those who broke your trust to come back and ask for your forgiveness, so that they recognize how they hurt you and promise never to do it again.
Azula nods while the old woman watches everything, but Ty Lee says,
Please, do you think you are the victim here?
She is also a trick of yours, Spirit. I will not continue with your games. I'm out of here.
I have a theory. There is something about you that makes people want to betray you. Maybe you are a terrible person who gets what he deserves.
Azula falls to her knees and says to stop all this, and let her see that it's real. Again Ty Lee mentions that she is real, responding that she is not, and she is foolish to think that he followed her through the forest and just found the temple. The Kyoshi warrior responds that she believes a lot of nonsense, like that they were friends of hers, even though she threatened her life to join the search for her avatar. Azula responds, What life? You were nobody in a freak circus. When I found you, both you and Maya were complete losers.
Happy losers. I love that circus.
I gave you a chance to do something important, instead of wasting your days performing for crowds of peasants. And look at you now, you are less than nothing.
My responds.
Is that what makes you so sad? You tell the people around you that they are nothing without you. They can't survive without you.
Azula is about to explode and Zuko appears, telling her no.
Don't try to deceive yourself. You surround yourself with people to manipulate and harm them because you can't stand the idea of facing the world alone. Being alone would mean that you would have to deal with all the horrible things you have done. The way you have harmed the people who took care of you. You are alone, Azula, and there is no one to blame, only you. Will you apologize?
Azula yells no, throwing lightning at Zuko, looking at the spirit and says,
I can see through your spirit lies, and I will end you.
transforming the old woman into a huge spirit which looks like a mix between a spider and a giant slug.
My manifestations did not lie. This is a sacred place of peace and rest. If you want those things, this temple is just a crossroads for those who have followed the wrong path. It offers a second chance to choose better. You, little Fire Lord, were offered redemption and forgiveness, but you rejected it. I take many forms, and it is your cruelty and desire for revenge that has shaped me into this. A mirror of your own inner self. A monster.
Redemption and apologies are for the weak. I owe nothing. I am Azula, daughter of the Phoenix King Ozai. Legitimate Lord of Fire, and I don't like meddlesome spirits.
Azula attacks with a powerful lightning-charged attack. The place collapses and she appears alone in the forest, commenting that none of that was real. But when it happens, we see an insect, which looks like a slug mixed with a spider. Azula walks and finds her fire warriors, who returned with Chilu. From a hill she says,
Silly girls, unworthy of my leadership. I will find new followers and a new place to rule. I always do.
If you liked seeing this comic in this way and you would like me to do it with the next ones that are on the way, support the channel by subscribing and leaving your like and comment. We will be seeing each other in these days with the analysis of this new comic. See you in a few days and thank you for staying here. Bye.